Alright, time to finish up the solutions for the function properties review paper. Yours is a little bit blue. Mine got whited out a little bit when I took pictures of it. So on 5, we need to graph our exponential before we can get the properties down. So let me erase this real quick, give me a little bit more room. Alright, so if you're going to do the graph of an exponential, you make yourself a little t-chart real quick. Pick yourself some x's, like -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2, and figure out the y's that go with it. If you put in -2 there, you're going to get 1/4 for your y. If you put in -1, you'll get 1/2. If you put in 0, you'll get 1. If you put in 1, you'll get 2. And if you put in 2, you'll get 4. So over here at -2, it's only 1/4 high. At -1, it's up a little bit more, about halfway there. At 0, it's up at 1, which is about there, halfway up. If you go to 1, we actually get up to 2, and at, oh man, these are really close together. 2, which is right there. If you go to the y value is 4, so my function's looking like this. And as you go left forever, it's just going to look like that. So there we go. Now we got it graphed. We need to get the domain and range. Well, my function goes left and right forever, so my domain is going to go from -infinity to infinity. And my range, meaning how far up and down it goes, well, my function goes up forever, but it doesn't go down forever. It reaches this x-axis and doesn't cross it. That's called the asymptote. My asymptote would be y equals 0, because that's this line. But my range is going to go from 0 and up from there. So that's going to be my range. See, you're supposed to get the x-intercept. It actually doesn't exist, so you can just put none. My y-intercept is actually right here. When x is 0, the y value is 1. C is asking where is it positive. Well, it's positive everywhere. It never goes below my x-axis. So you just go from -infinity to infinity, which means it doesn't have an interval where it's negative, because it's never ever negative. G is asking where is it increasing. Well, travel from left to right. As you do that, your function is always going up. It always has a positive slope. And so it's increasing everywhere, as in from -infinity to infinity, which means it's never decreasing. And that leaves us with I, or end behavior. As you travel to the left forever, as x approaches -infinity, what does your function do? Well, it keeps going down and down and down, but it doesn't go down indefinitely. Well, it does, but it gets closer and closer to 0, and it never actually reaches 0. So it approaches 0, but doesn't reach it. But as you travel to the right, as x increases indefinitely to the right, your function keeps going up and up and up and up and up and up forever, and it never has any bound, so it goes up to positive infinity. And that's my end behavior, which goes where the I is. And moving on to 6, again, get yourself a little table, pick some x's, get the y's that go with it. And since my brilliant coordinate systems are counting by 2's, I'm going to count by 2's as well. So if I do -4, -2, 0, 2, and 4, when I plug those in, you're going to get some fancy numbers here. When you plug in 0, you're going to get -1, so notice the negative in front of the 1/2 part. If you put in 2, you're going to get -1/2. If you put in 4, you're going to get -1/16. If you put in -2, you're going to get -4. If you put in -4, you're going to get -16. And notice they're all negative because the negative's in front, not because it's in the exponent. So there are my points. You just need a graph them. So go to -4, -16, which is way down there. At -2, it's -4. At 0, it's -1, which is about halfway. And at 2, it's -1/2. No, it's not. That's not -1/2. What am I talking about? Okay, this is going to be -1/4. Man, I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, it's there, and then at 4, it's -1/16. So it looks something like this. And it gets really close to that x-axis, but doesn't cross it. in your x-axis equation is the equation y equals 0, and that's called your asymptote. And it gets really, really close to that, but doesn't cross. Time to do domain and range. My function goes left forever, it goes right forever, so the domain's from negative infinity to infinity. My function does go down forever, so negative. Sorry about the pause, I accidentally hit the X button. So it goes down forever, but it doesn't go up forever. It gets really, really close to this line, though, the line y equals 0. So it approaches 0 for the y value, for the function value. C is asking where's the x-intercept. Well, it never crosses the x-axis, so that doesn't exist. Where's my y-intercept? It's right there. It's the point 0, negative 1. The y-intercept is the point where your x is 0. E is asking where is it positive. Well, it's never above my x-axis, so there's no interval of where it's positive, but it is negative everywhere from negative infinity to infinity. G is asking where is it increasing. Well, my function is always increasing as I travel from left to right, so from negative infinity to infinity, which means it's never decreasing. And that leaves me the end behavior. So as your x goes right forever, as your x goes left forever, what does your function do? Well, the function keeps going down and down and down and down and down and down, so my f of x goes to negative infinity. As your x goes to the right forever, towards positive infinity, your function keeps going up and up and up and up, but it doesn't just like go on forever up into the infinities. It gets really, really, really close to 0 and gets closer and closer and closer, but never actually reaches it. So it approaches 0, and that's my end behavior. And that brings me 7 and 8. Alright, rather than bore you by rambling on about how I got these different values here, I set up my table mostly. The only one I haven't finished up here is when x is negative 4. If you do 1/3 to the negative 4th power, that's the same thing as 3 to the 4th power, which is 81, and you have to minus 9 from that. And 81 minus 9 is 72. Okay, so my function looks pretty crazy at this point, but when you get to numbers like this, just do your best approximation. Okay, and so this one definitely can't graph because negative 472 is up here somewhere. Probably doesn't even fit on the screen. But I got negative 2, 0. And you have the point 0, negative 8. And then we have the point 2, negative 8.8 repeating. So it's almost negative 9. And then we have 4, and then something even closer to negative 9. It's about halfway. So my function is going to look something like this. And it shoots up really, really fast. And it gets really, really close to this negative 9 fellow. So that's my asymptote of y equals negative 9. So there's that. And what I did is just plug that right in here and convert it back to a fraction. And your calculator can do that for you, at least the ones in the classroom. On A and B, get the domain and range. Well, this function goes left and right forever, so from negative infinity to infinity. Range, this one goes really, really close down to negative 9. And it goes up forever from there, so that's my range. This one has a x-intercept of negative 2, 0. And it has a y-intercept of 0, negative 8. My function changes from being positive when it reaches negative 2 to the left of that, so from negative infinity to negative 2 is where it's positive, and from negative 2 onward it's going to be negative, as in below my x-axis. And that brings me to G and H. As you travel from left to right, is your function going down or up? Well, it keeps going down and down and down and down and down, and so the interval where it's decreasing is going to be everywhere, from negative infinity to infinity. But it's not going to have an interval where it's increasing, so that's going to be none. And then your end behavior always starts out like this. As x approaches negative infinity, what's your function do? Well, the function keeps going up and up and up forever, indefinitely without bounds, so the function goes to positive infinity. And as your x goes the other way, towards positive infinity, my function keeps going down and down and down, but it doesn't do it indefinitely. It goes down and closer and closer to negative 9. So that's my end behavior. And that brings me to 8. Let me get my table going. Alright, so as I plugged these x values in, I got these fractions out. And these ones up here are approximately these ones right here, these decimal values. So that'll help us in graphing. When you do x, we're -4, and then it goes up to almost 8, which is about there. And then -2 also goes to almost 8 up there. At 0 it goes up to 7.5. It's just slightly less than that. And then we got 0, from 2, we get 0. And then at 4, it goes down to -20, so it pretty much just plummets like that. So this function's pretty crazy. It's pretty steep. And it gets this, and it gets really close to that line. That's called an asymptote. And that's the line y equals 8, as in it's 8 high. And let's get the rest of this. My function goes left and right forever, so my domain is from -infinity to infinity. My infinities are getting really crappy. My range goes down forever, but it only goes up and gets really close to 8. My function is positive to the left of that x-intercept, as in it's up above on the left side here. So from -infinity until x is 2, and from 2 onward, and that's where it's negative. E is trying to figure out where is, just kidding, crap. These answers go on E and F. I'm sorry guys, E and F. That's what those answers are, because C and D are the x and y intercepts, which luckily we already figured out on our table. It's these 2 points. So your x-intercept is at 2, 0. The y-intercept is at 0 and 7.5 or 7.5 or just 15 halves. My function as I travel from left to right is always going down, so it's never increasing. It's always increasing, so from -infinity, just kidding, it's always decreasing. So from -infinity to infinity. And then my end behavior always starts out the same as x approaches -infinity. Man, my infinities are just getting hosed tonight. Alright. My function keeps going up and up and up, but it gets really close to 8. And it never actually crosses it or reaches it. It just approaches it. And as I travel right forever, though, my function keeps going down and down without bound, and just keeps going, and it goes down to -infinity. So that's my end behavior. It goes there, and that's it.